Is it going live? Oh, there we go. Hello, everybody. This is Tommy Runs. I've been live for 20 seconds. Didn't know it. But hey, guys, it's Tommy Runs. This is the Run, Eat, Sleep Show, episode number 71. Today, we have a professional distance runner, Hoka NAZ elite athlete, a wife, a mother of two, a businesswoman, and one who is very, very familiar with grit and how to push through and how to persevere and how to be as balanced as possible. I've had a lot of really cool people on the show, and I just continue to be able to somehow be blessed to add another person onto that list. Stephanie Bruce is on the show today, so I look forward to really talking to her. I've been watching her kind of, through Instagram and through YouTube for a few years now, so it's really nice to be able to tap in and actually talk to her. And I've always admired how well rounded she is as a person. She continues to grind to get faster and faster, but I just love seeing the other things outside of life, outside of running, that we call life, to tap in and really see, what keeps a person like her going. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Steph Bruce to the show. Hello, Steph. How are you?
Hey, Tommy, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. So was it awkward to see me not be live for 20 seconds and you're just watching me from the background?
No, I feel like super big time. I mean, I think that's right. Isn't that like how all production is when you're waiting to go on TV or for an
Yeah.
interview? You're just like hearing, we've done like a couple news reports where you hear the reporter talking about you and then they're like, now you're live. So I'm
Yeah.
used to it.
Yeah, I should have had my, thing here like, "Oh, I'm live. Am I
Oh,
live?"
okay, great.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Act
so
like
here
you
we
know
go.
what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I wanna say thanks so much for being on the show, and I always start the show just kind of like to talk about a little bit about the running origins. A lot of people know your story, but some don't really. So I just love to kind of go back and say, like, when was running introduced to your life, and then when did it become like a thing that you've identified with?
Yeah, running. Oh, running's been sometimes it's hard to think back, like when did it start or when did like the fire get stoked. But the best probably timeline I could describe is I did running like in grade school, in your, PE physical fitness classes. And then we had something called like a presidential fitness challenge
Mhm.
where you did a series of exercises like sit and reach,
Yeah.
sit-ups, and then
Mhm.
they had the mile run. And I remember in like 7th and 8th grade being like, okay, like I couldn't touch my toes. And I wasn't doing many sit-ups, but I was like, I really like this mile run.
Mm.
And I found it was one of the only exercises I could beat boys. I was
Okay.
like, yeah, I could be into that because I grew up with 3 older brothers. So I was the youngest, only girl, kind of always I don't want to say beat up on, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
definitely did not take it easy on me. So I always had a little like chip on my shoulder trying to keep up with boys. And then when I went into high school, I wouldn't say I loved running at that point.
Mm.
The cross country coach encouraged me to come out. He was like, "Yeah, like you can do track in the spring and this thing called cross country in the fall." And I was like, "All
Yeah.
right, what is cross country?" He's like, "Well, you run anywhere from 2 miles to 5K on like different courses, grass, dirt."
Yeah.
I was like, that sounds super boring. I don't think I'm going to do that. And honestly, in high school, I was kind of a little bit of a rebel, and I would say I preferred going out and partying. Sadly, looking back, than I did, either like getting to school on time or showing up for practice. So
Yeah.
much to my cross country coach's chagrin, I was always like, "Where's Stephanie? What's Stephanie doing?" But I still came out for the team. I was able to like walk on cross country. And then during the spring, I had track and I
Yeah.
gradually moved up in distance.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, I did that most of my high school career, kind of just going through the motions, I would say.
Yeah.
And then my senior year of high school, that's when kind of, I guess, life turned a little different corner for me.
Mhm.
And my dad he had been diagnosed with prostate cancer a few years earlier, and his
Mhm.
health was sort of declining. And he was living in New York at the time, and my mom and brothers and I were living in Phoenix, Arizona. And
Mhm.
So I knew that I had to probably go out and visit him and kind of check in on him. So I flew out there my senior year to New York, and I was planning on going to visit him into the city where he was getting cancer treatment at Memorial Sloan Kettering.
Mhm.
I flew in on a Friday. I was going to see him on Saturday, and then I woke up Saturday morning and I went for a run. And I remember having like a really strange feeling on that run, something that I couldn't really describe to you or
Yeah.
identify what it was. And then I got back from the run. My stepmom was on the phone, and she said, "Stephanie, your dad passed away." And of course, I said, "No, I'm about to get on the train to go visit him. Like, that's impossible." And she said, "No, he passed away in the last hour." And so I suppose when I look back at that run and that feeling I had, I think I know my dad died while I was on that run, and I think perhaps he passed through me, or his spirit did, and maybe
Yeah.
that's the strange feeling I had. And so at 18 years old, that sort of changed the trajectory of my life. And I probably had two choices, one to go this way, one to go
Yeah.
that way. And I like to think I chose this path, which led me to running. And running was no longer something that I have to do, but it was something I get to do. So it sort of became a gift to me. And yeah, I've never looked back since.
I mean, is that just to not like to harp on that? I mean, that's number one. Sorry to hear that. And then two, it's like, I mean, it's really like a beautiful story, in a way, of something that happened like in the way it did, in the way and that you connected to it the right way, I guess. And I just want to know, like, I mean, especially as a senior in high school, like that's really like a mature thing for like a 17, 18-year old to attach to and say like, okay, well, this means, maybe this is what I should be doing. Could you like talk about that a little bit more too? Because I mean, I think that there's many people that have moments, maybe not like as huge as this one, but have moments that pass through and maybe need help deciding how to like grab onto those things.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we hit crossroads in our life, all the time, right? And I've been asked the question now, like, what would 38-year-old Stephanie tell 18-year-old Stephanie and vice versa? And I almost say, like, thank you. I don't know how I was put in that position because my dad passed away, but I don't know if it's intrinsic, if it was in the makeup of who I am that just
Mhm.
made me decide, hey, I would rather, I honestly like, I stopped partying. I like leaned into running. I leaned into training. I just kind of like cleaned up everything I was doing. Like I ate fast food, which is fine to do, but ate fast food like 5 to 6 times a week as a high
No,
school.
yeah, maybe, yeah.
Maybe
Yeah, I
cut it.
mean, you ate like a typical,
Yeah,
high schooler, yeah.
totally. But I was like, I think I could do Chick-fil-A like once a week and maybe not
Yeah,
5 times a week. Yeah, so I
yeah,
made those little changes, and then they paid off physically in running. And I ended up having an incredible breakthrough
yeah,
after my dad passed in February. I took my mile time down. My junior year, I had run 5:28 for the mile, and then I finished off the year running 4:58 in the
yeah,
mile. I
yeah,
was second in the Arizona State meet, and so I don't know. I think I developed a lot of empathy. It gave me a greater perspective on life. And instead of being like, why me,
yeah,
or question why things happen, I was like, well, what can I do about it? And you kind of have choices at that point. And I guess I was lucky. I saw my older brothers kind of take different paths, right? They were
mhm,
a little older, and maybe they were looking for like their dad to shape them into men at
mhm,
that point, where I was like very moldable, and I kind of just reached out to other adults or other people older than me that I could see as mentors. And I don't know, it definitely, my biggest advice would be it's a choice each day of how you want to live. And when people talk about like being happy, being successful,
yeah,
you literally need to wake up every day and want to be those things. They don't just happen to you. And I know that because one of my brothers, ended up becoming a heroin addict. And so we grew up in the same family. We had the same things happen to us. Our dad died to both of us, but he chose this way. And
yeah,
goes this way. And granted, there are chemical imbalances, there are different things that
yeah,
predispose people, to illnesses. But you do have to fight, I think, mental illness and fight the urge to give up and give in each day.
Mhm.
And I think it's
Yeah.
important to realize when people are doing well, like you think it just comes natural. It doesn't. You have
Right,
to
right.
work really hard at relationships, really hard at jobs, really hard at motivation, dedication. Like
Yeah.
they require work day in and day out.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking to my kids in the car when I dropped my daughter's 14, son's 11,
Mhm.
and, we're dropping them off, and I asked them what kinda day that they wanted to have today, and it was, like, one of those, like, father moments where, like, the kids have no idea what you're talking about.
Of
They're
course.
like, "Dude, I don't know, great day, whatever," you know? And so, but the point was like I told him like, the point is you need to set an intention on like what you want to have happen today, and you can't control anything, like you can't control like what actually happens. I mean, but you can control like how you step foot into like every situation. So like I just think that that's beautiful. That it's like if you see someone that's always it seems like they're happy at least, or they're doing well in school or life or whatever, they wake up with like they may not say it like flat out loud every day, but they wake up with the intention to do that thing. So I think that that's amazing. So that's advice anybody can take. So
Mhm.
you're a very wise high schooler.
Thank you.
And then so as as after senior year, that when you kind of dedicated yourself to a better life and with running very much so involved, can you talk to me about how that transition from high school to college was, and uh, how that kind of molded who you are as a person and runner now?
Yeah, high school to college was rocky for me for sure because here I was, dad died February of senior year. I got a partial running scholarship to UCSB. So
Hmm.
I was moving from Phoenix to Santa Barbara. My mom and brother drove me out. And then at the time, my mom couldn't stay very long to kind of move me in. So essentially, they got me there and was like, okay, good luck. We'll see ya. So here I am all by myself. Dad died a few months before. And yeah, I felt really alone and like I had no idea what I was doing in life. I was lucky to be a student athlete because I feel like that kind of gives you a automatic sense of community, right? That
Yeah.
you already have. You have a head start almost in college,
Hmm.
first coming and being a stranger on campus. But that next year was sort of kind of up and down emotionally for myself and my family. My dad's business had gone bankrupt after he passed, and sort of I guess the funds that we thought might be coming our way. His company ended up going bankrupt. And so about halfway through my freshman year, my mom said, I'm going to have to pull you out of school because we can't afford tuition anymore. And I was devastated because I felt like I had just like started to, I don't know, be part of a family at UCSB. Like I was at
Hmm.
Gaucho. I was really like loving my cross country team. And I thought like, hey, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like I made it and I'm on the right path. And then to kind of feel like the rug was ripped out underneath me, I have to leave school. And we went in to tell my coach about it. And he's like, well, the school paper ended up writing an article on you. And it just had something like Rothstein forced to drop out of UCSB. And that was my maiden name. And my coach, Pete Dolan, said, Stephanie, you're not going to believe this. He's like, somebody read the article and they called and they said they want to fund the rest of your college career. And I said, you're no, like this is impossible. What are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, no, an anonymous donor reached out.
What?
Yeah, what is right? And they read the story, and all I could think of was like, is that like my dad up in heaven, or like was that a guardian? Is that what guardian angels? I don't know, but basically. That changed my life because it allowed me to stay at UCSB, and but it also created this burden on my heart, because now I was why did I get this gift? Why did someone say that
Yeah.
my life was worth it? And so from kind of that moment on, that is honestly what shaped me into being like, I need to make my life worth it from here on out. And I need to make a difference in people's lives all the
Wow.
time. And that sort of inspired the way I live my life, and why I'm always trying to do this and that, and reach out to people and start things and create businesses and like have all these opportunities, because I feel like I got a second chance in life, and I want to try to repay that. And I don't know if I ever will, but I don't know. That's what happened in my college
Wow.
career, and that kind of set the tone for the rest of my life, that I will never be able to, I don't know if live up to what the gift I received, but there's not a day that I don't feel grateful and thankful that happened.
Yeah, I don't know who this I'll give you I'll let you know right now. I mean, it wasn't me. So
Okay, thanks,
so,
Tom.
like, just I know you're probably wondering, but it wasn't. I was
It
right
would have
on
been great that, like,
the
20 years later, you got
yeah,
me on
here I
the
am.
podcast and you're like,
So
here it is.
so, yeah, I got you on the show to let you know that it was me, but no, it wasn't me, but whoever it was, I mean, like, I know it seemed at the time and even now probably it just seemed like such a insanely gracious and large gesture for them to do. But I guarantee that whoever this person um, is so grateful that they did what they did because you've for sure led up to and done the things that whoever this person is thought you and hoped you would as in general. I mean, even yeah, there's no way that you haven't reached that thing, because there's so many people that, if you did a poll right now and asked them one good question, you'd get the answer you're looking for that you've helped so many people do um, things outside of running, that probably would never, just be able to come up and say thank you for. So, um, I mean, because truly, like the cool thing about being able to talk to someone like you is that you're fast, you're a runner, you work hard at this running thing, but you're very well rounded in the other things of life too, and that is extremely relatable. Although we're not going to go rip off a second Boston finish, a second American Boston women's finish, but you know, on that same day, last Monday, there were, thousands of women and men who are trying to do what you're doing as well, which is being, balanced and pushing and fighting and showing grit, but having fun and all that stuff. So yeah, I think whoever did that as well, but you've for sure lived up to it. So congrats on that. And that's a crazy story. I don't
It's
know how I didn't know that, but like that's insane.
Thank you.
Um,
That
so after you go through college, and had a good NCAA career, um, what's next after that? Like, when did you decide that you were gonna take your talents to South Beach? When did you decide that you were gonna go pro, and then how'd that work out?
Yeah, you said I did have like a good college career for sure, but at the time, like I didn't do anything that was like, oh man,
Mhm, mhm.
sponsors are knocking at my door, right? My
Yeah.
best finish was fifth at NCAs and 10,000. And so when I graduated, I would say the opportunities were sort of slim at the time.
Mhm,
But I did get approached by kind of a group setting, but I ended up turning that down because I said, I think I want to kind of explore other options. And at the time, I had just started dating Ben,
mhm,
and he was staying up in Cal Poly with his college coach.
mhm,
And I was like, okay, I'm just going to email some coaches like across the country and see what's out there. And so I ended up getting an opportunity to move up to Eugene, Oregon, and
mhm,
train with Frank Gagliano, Coach
mhm.
Gags.
Yep.
And at the time, that was the Oregon Track Club, but I didn't really have the standards to kind of like be on the team right away. So they said, you can come up, live here, and then you can sort of try out. And basically, if I run a standard while I'm there that got me into USA's, they would do something where they kind of back pay like my
Okay.
rent and then talk about a contract. But after just being there, like just a few weeks, I was like, this was the wrong decision. Like his coaching was great, but it was great for an 800-meter runner or a
Mm.
1500-meter runner. And I'm
Yeah.
like, 10,000 is like the shortest I'm going to go. So here I am in Eugene. I'd visit it in June, which is the best and worst time to visit because it's beautiful,
Yeah.
green. You're like, this is the best place in the country.
But then
And
the rest of the year.
correct. Now I'm there in October. It's pouring rain. It's dark at like 4:30.
Yeah.
I'm not in the right coaching situation. My boyfriend now is farther away. And I'm like, I made the worst decision. Like, what did I do?
Mhm.
And so I kind of was just I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest.
Right, right.
I was able to get a babysitting job. I babysat for the coaches at Oregon at the time,
Mhm.
Ian and Marisa Powell. That was like a great situation because I had their baby Owen from when he was like 9 months old. So like I was able to run, kind of working as a nanny, cleaning houses, and then I ended up meeting a coach out there who kind of recognized that I was probably going to be a marathoner, and that was
Mhm.
Brad Hudson. And so he was like, hey, like I would love to like work with you and coach you. So I started working with Brad, but the whole next year was just like really up and down. I was injured a lot. I felt like I had glimpses of being a great runner, and then as
Mhm.
soon as I would be fit, I would get hurt, and I just generally felt unwell. Um, but then at the same time, Ben ended up moving up to Eugene, so we were together. He
Mhm.
got an opportunity to run for Oregon Track Club when they got a new coach, Mark Rowland, and Ben had great success. I mean, it was the best time I would say in his professional career. So here's
Mhm.
Ben up here. He's doing amazing. Here I am thinking I was going to be up here. I'm down here. I'm questioning all my life decisions. I'm looking up what it takes to be a lawyer. I'm, I'm looking up volunteering as a hospice nurse. Ben was like, wow, she is all over the map. Yeah, I was just in that classic, like 22 to 25-year-old, thought I was going to be a runner,
Yeah.
but it's not working out for me. And then, fortunate enough, I was able to see a couple doctors in Portland. One was a naturopath and one was a chiro.
Mhm.
And they started exploring the idea of food allergies. And
Hmm.
this was like 2010. And I was like, no, I don't think I have any.
Right,
Well,
right.
sure enough, long story short, we did some elimination diets where you bring food in, take it out,
Yeah.
kind of looking for gluten, dairy, like the big food allergies. And I was allergic to just about all of them. So
Oh,
gluten,
boy.
dairy, egg, and soy. And when I took them out, as like hard as that was, I felt so much better.
Mm.
I was like, wow, maybe this is it. And sure enough, within a few months, I was like a new person. Uh,
Wow.
I emailed a bunch of coaches again across the country. I said, hey, this is crazy, but I think I could be one of the best marathoners in the US. Would you take a chance on coaching me? And of course, no one wrote back. But one coach, Greg McMillan, he was in Flagstaff at the time, wrote back, said, I followed your college career. Yeah, I totally would take a chance on you. So I moved out there in, gosh, April of 2010.
Yeah.
And then 9 months later, I ran 2:29 in the marathon. And at the
Wow.
time, that was like the sixth best time for an American in the last 4 years. So I think I
Yeah.
found my calling, kind of bet on myself. And now I've been in Flagstaff for the last 11 years. Of course, we've had a lot of transitions since I first moved there to be part of Greg's group. But yeah, here I am.
Like, so what but what, the funny part is, like, actually, I'm trying my best to not, like, just say grit 100 times every while you're talking, you know? But,
Yeah,
like, so like, I know you were looking for other things, like hospice care, is probably one of the roughest ones to
yeah,
pick.
exactly.
Um,
Like, what was I thinking? I would
like,
have just cried
is
every
that
time I was there.
yeah, and that was way before
Right,
Indeed.com, so, like, you had to really look for that.
right.
But so, like, even through that, like, you still obviously you obviously never gave up on the running thing. I mean, because if you really gave up on it, we wouldn't be talking to you now. But so, like, what made you like what did you hold on to, and how did you hang on to running through like that tough time? Because 3 years of that back and forth and doubt, and it's a long time, to hold on to something like that. And there's probably plenty of athletes, or just anybody with a dream that would probably, let it go after 3 years or so. So like, how'd you hold on to that?
Stubbornness.
Good, good. Yeah, that's a
I
good
mean,
answer.
honestly, like, I don't wanna, like, give you a false sense of motivation or,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I was so much more persistent, but I don't know. I honestly just believed from a very early age that I was a lot better than I was performing, and there was a reason why I wasn't. Like,
Yeah,
something was holding me back, and I can't explain that. It's just, like, in my bones,
yeah.
and I've that's carried into my professional career. Like, I had crappy marathons the last 7 years, and I wasn't finishing them off well, and I was running out of energy. And then Boston, I was like, "Okay, like, this is the person that
Mhm.
I thought was supposed to run the marathon." And so I don't know. I think I've seen that being stubborn and kind of holding on in like the right way, if you really feel it, can pay
Mm,
off. And
yeah,
so that's what I did. And granted, I'm not including all the little things I did along the way. Like I spent a lot of money on therapy, like getting treatment, trying to figure out reasons. I didn't just sit in my room and be like, I
yeah,
hope I get better.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I didn't blame anyone else. I took ownership of everything that was happening to me. And yeah, I was just really persistent in pursuing what I felt like was supposed to be kind of my destiny in running.
Though that's well, I mean, I'm glad you did because it just really, but that's grit though. I mean, stubbornness for a reason is that's grit. Like we all go through these things, and as simple as a training block or troubles at work or home or whatever, and it just takes, if you believe in that thing, or you know that that's what you want and desire, at it's to some like burning passion or extent, then sometimes you just have to hold on to it no matter what. And for some people that looks like part-time jobs, or full-time jobs, and then just doing their calling at night or something or whatever, or on lunch break or something. um and sometimes you just have to just keep going no matter what. And we're definitely glad that there's people like you that do that and it works out, so you kind of, even though it's not like a super motivational thing like just be stubborn, but
Sure.
it's like it is what it is. And sometimes you just have to hear just to lock on and stay with it, and maybe something will change.
Yeah. And I think that last point you said, like that it works out, that's a really important um, that's a factor that I don't take for granted. Like we're sitting here because it did work out for me, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so acutely aware that it doesn't work out for a lot of people. The,
Hmm.
the the businesses, the dreams, all the things, it doesn't always work out. And hopefully they can realize that that doesn't mean like they failed, but they had the courage to try.
Hmm.
And it's okay to actually say, I'm too tired of trying, or
Yeah,
I don't want to do this path anymore. But I used to be like, oh, dreams, keep going after them. But I do realize like it does not. Sometimes luck, sometimes timing are all factors of why it
yeah.
works out. But I think that's important to acknowledge too.
And then to like, just to add to that, I mean, I feel like if it the back to the control what you can control thing, you did this, you did it, you attacked everything that you thought you could, probably, like you looked at training, you looked at all the stuff, and then it ended up being, the diet and things that you were eating, so you didn't just, bullheaded, stubborn, just keep pushing the same, door, or trying to open the same door. You kind of figured out, or tried to figure out as many ways as possible, what could it be. You knew it was something, but you didn't know. And I think that that's a big lesson too, is like, there's a lot of things that didn't work out for people, for many different reasons. But oftentimes I think that we get so stubborn, where it's like the only way that this is going to work is the way that I envisioned it to work. And we have a hard time being a little less stubborn, and like, maybe it's not, the wrong coach, or the wrong shoes, or the wrong this, or the wrong that. It's like, it could be anything. So just kind of check off all the boxes, and control what you can control, which is only just what you think about next and how you proceed. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that was that's dope. So, and I just had a question because I interviewed your husband before. So for some reason I just have to know, like, how did you guys meet? Like, because I just feel like that's a fun story.
Yeah, well, we met at the NCAA championships actually
Okay.
when he was running in Sacramento in 2005, and I had just actually come up there to watch a friend. I hadn't qualified or anything, and it was just so random, like a mutual friend. I was walking across the bridge, I think, going into the stadium, and Ben was coming out of the stadium. And the friend that I was with was like, "Hey, Bruce, like, great job," because he had just run the prelim of the steeple. And I
Hmm.
don't know, we shook hands, like, "This is Stephanie, this is Ben." I honestly didn't think anything of it. Like, I didn't meet him and be like, "Oh my gosh, who's that?"
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny to look back. And then that night, my friend did the whole like text messaged Ben from my phone. And he
Oh.
was like, "Hey, you should come out with us after your final." And Ben like wrote back something like, "Thanks for the invite. My family's here. I'm going to hang out with them." And that was it. And honestly, like we both went our separate ways. He
Yeah.
ended up getting sixth in his final at NCAAs. And then I went back to school. And then I ended up going out to Boulder, Colorado for the summer to
Mhm.
train. And I was driving and I got a text message and it was like, "Hey, is this Stephanie's phone? This is Ben Bruce." And I was like, "Ben Bruce." And then I like remembered meeting him a few weeks earlier
Mhm.
and he just said, "Just seeing what you're up to." And I wrote back, "Yes, this is good to hear from you. I'm actually heading out to Boulder, Colorado to train for the summer, but why don't
Yeah.
you give me a call?" And then I said, "Sometime," keyword sometime. Well, a minute later, my phone rang. And, um, and then, of course, I got on the phone with him. And then 2 minutes later, I said, "I have to go. I'm getting pulled over for speeding," because apparently I got excited when he called,
Oh my god.
started speeding, got pulled over, and the rest is history.
Oh man, that's good. Yeah. Well, yeah. So it was like it wasn't like a crazy story in the beginning, but then like it at least it got to be like I started to hear more of Ben as we
Yes,
as you got to the
exactly.
like, hey, call me sometime, and he's like, I'll call you right now,
I'll call you right now. That's
right
right.
this moment.
Mhm.
Yeah. So after that, you went to Flagstaff to start to train. When did NAZ Elite Hoka NAZ Elite come along and how that play a role in kind of having you transition to that next step of your journey?
So in 2013, Ben and I kind of went out on our own and we stopped working with the group that we were with here. And
Mhm.
he became my coach. And we were like, "All right, I think we're just going to try this for a while." Um, and that ended up being like one of the best years of my professional running career. He coached me to like a second place at the 10K road championships, third place at the 15K road championships, fourth place at the half marathon championships. So we were just kind of on a roll and we were having a lot of fun. We had just got married in 2012
Mhm.
and we were like, "All right, let's like keep this going." But then, as the year went on, we realized we were kind of lonely. We are group people. We really love having
Mm.
teammates and
Yeah.
we kind of wanted more in our lives. And simultaneously, Ben and Jen Rosario moved out to Flag and they were like, "We want to start a professional running group, like a true professional running group, connecting with the fans,
Mhm.
delivering back to our sponsors, like producing content, the whole 9 yards." And they asked if we want to be part of the group. And they said, "We don't have a sponsor yet, but we're really confident in our business model." So
Right.
we said, "Sure." So the end of 2013, more like in the fall, I was getting ready to run some road races
Mhm.
and I kind of had a little injury pop up. And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm not really sure what this is, but let me see if it's serious." It ended up being pretty serious. I got a stress fracture in my femur,
Oh
kind of
man.
like my first major injury. And at the time, this was 3 years away from the next Olympic trials.
Mhm.
So Ben and I kind of had a talk and we were like, "Hey, looking at like our life plans, like we know we want to have kids. Do I want to wait till my career's over? I don't think so." So we were like,
Mhm.
"All right, I guess if you get an injury, we'll try because otherwise it's kind of hard to stop when the momentum is going well."
Yeah.
So the injury, I think, spurred that, and we got pregnant with Riley a few months after that injury. And then he was born in June of 2014.
Mhm.
And that's when the NAZ Elite sort of started to take off. We got a couple more teammates, Kellen Taylor,
Yep.
Amy Van Alstyne. We were kind of teammates over from our old group. And then the beginning of 2015 is when Hoka came on as our title sponsor.
Okay.
And it was really awesome, just like coming together.
Yeah.
But at the time during my pregnancy, since I didn't have a sponsor, I started working with Oiselle,
Hmm.
the female apparel company.
Yeah.
I worked with Sally, Sarah, and Bob Lesko. And they were amazing because they essentially told me not to rush back from pregnancy, or
Mm.
postpartum. They just told me to take my time. And I think that really saved my career because I could go at my own pace.
Yeah.
And then when Hoka came on, it was kind of this blend where I was uniquely sponsored by both.
Yeah.
The running industry, that's not necessarily the best model. And I think we all realized it, that, one sponsor wants to have you. And I think that's
Yeah.
okay. So I kind of did the dual with them for a few years. And then I transitioned fully to Hoka
Hmm.
and was part of NAZ, have been part of NAZ Elite for the last 8 years.
Hmm.
And then, of course, when that 2015 kind of happened with Hoka, that was also when we got a little surprise in our family personal life. And I found out I was pregnant again with my second son, Hudson. That wasn't exactly part of our plan. But you know what? Life happens when you're busy making other plans. Yeah, and it worked out really great because then when the 2016 marathon trials came around, I was only 5 months postpartum with Hudson, and Riley was about, 20 months old.
Hmm.
I said, I gotta let go of this dream. Like, there's no way I'm making it to the starting line. And if I had tried, I think I would have risked the rest of my, running career.
Hmm.
So I was able to kind of let that, I guess, goal and dream go. I
Yeah.
really thought 2016 was like my time to try to make the team, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I let that go. I got back on the track. I ended up getting injured. I think all the postpartum was catching up to me. And
Hmm.
then the next 2 years was really just like coming back from both babies was catching up to me. I was trying to do the training, but I wasn't strong enough. The workouts would go well sometimes, but I wasn't putting them into results in races.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of another just like persist through period for me,
Hmm.
2016, 2017. And then 2018, it started to click. I
Yeah.
started to really absorb the training. All the work I had done postpartum was paying off. And I had a really great 2018, 2019, won my first and second national title on the roads.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just was coming into my own and had a couple top 10 finishes at World Marathon Majors, at London, at New York, at Chicago. And then that led me to kind of where I am here in this last year.
Yeah, I loved looking at all your PRs. They're all in the they're all 2019, 2020, 2021. So it really speaks to I did a panel discussion with three of the sub elite runners that were going to be racing this race in Toledo, Ohio, called Glass City Marathon.
Okay.
So we had three of the elite women on a panel, and to celebrate and commemorate 50 years of women marathoning. Because this is the 50th year, not including the year where someone's got out there and snuck on the course.
Mhm.
But shout out to her, big shout outs to Catherine. But it was, it at one point it was that women weren't strong enough or physically strong enough or capable to do the marathon, and then now it's like, okay, well they can, obviously, which shouldn't have been a question, but they can. And then I think what I'd love to hear you talk about the um, the preconceived notions about having a family, having kids, and then being able to then still perform at a high level. And did you get pushback around the time when you were thinking about starting a family, and how'd that play out as you worked through that? Because I think that there's a lot of women that, put their lives on hold because they're afraid that it'll stop, their progress and goals.
I'll first off say I was really lucky. I had so much support from, at the time, Oiselle, and then Hoka, and now Hoka. I didn't have any pushback, but I
Mhm.
also had a lot of things going for me. Like I had the support of my husband, since
Mhm.
Ben was also a professional runner.
Yeah.
We could parent 50-50. It wasn't like him going to work and I had to take the load. Financially, I was still paid salary through my sponsors. And then so we could afford childcare. We live in a great place where childcare is affordable here in Flagstaff. And
Mhm.
I just had really great like situations and setups where that's not the case for a lot of women. And I think, especially in the professional running world, I think that is what is a hurdle and a roadblock for many. Like a good friend of mine, Alicia Montano, who has been huge in like this movement and starting and mother. She had a lot of pushback when she wanted to have a baby and she ran at USA's pregnant. And it was just like, to some people, it was like, what is she doing? And to us, we're like, yeah, whatever. She's run 157. A 2:3800 is not a big
Mhm.
deal when you're 8 months pregnant,
Yeah.
relative to her speed. But yeah, she had pushback from companies because I think companies were afraid, can these women come back? How long will it take?
Mhm.
Are they just as valuable? And then now you're starting to realize, with the help of Alicia, with Allison Felix, yeah, we're just as valuable or even more, because
More, yeah.
we're the same. We're just human like other women. We just happen to run at a faster pace. But there's a lot of like relatability. And I think we're kind of trying to break down these, I don't know, these old institutions of like, one, that childbirth or that motherhood was like crippling, or it was
Mhm.
something that like, okay, like have your baby and just like get your work done and put your baby on the side. But
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
guess what? You can mom and you can work. I think this whole like, it's not professional to have breastfeeding in certain places or babies. You start to question, like, well, guess what? Every person on this earth was a baby at once. Men were
Yeah,
babies,
yeah.
like the head CEO, a male of a company, your mom at some point gave birth to you so you could do all the things you're doing. So I
Yeah.
feel like if, and I'm not meaning to attack men, but if more men
Oh,
just
it's fine. Sometimes we deserve it, I
yeah,
think.
I just feel like more men realize, like, yeah, it's fine. It doesn't make a woman any less professional, like she can't do her job, and it was more acceptable. I think more women would not feel like I have to choose between my career and being a mom.
Mhm.
Like Alicia, part of their motto at And Mother is like, I'm a champion and a mother. You don't
Yeah.
have to be or. Yeah, so I don't take any credit for doing anything along the way. I just got really lucky and fortunate. But I guess I'm just trying to like showcase what other women have done and pave the way
Mhm.
for all of those coming behind us.
Yeah, no, you all are, motivation and role models in so many different ways, and I think that that's really great, and especially, like, with Alex and Phoenix, is like, you because you all have so much, like, to worry about, and like you said, you're not trying to, like, attack men or whatever, but, often as a fella, we don't have to think about, we don't have to think about our dreams and say, "Well, maybe I shouldn't have a kid too," because in society, we've had the benefit of society feeling like it's okay to have kids whenever we want, and then, like, kinda say, "Okay, honey, I'll see you later. I'm gonna go chase my dreams." So it's really it's more and more you see, in all aspects and walks of life, you see more women saying like, "No, I'm doing my thing. We're gonna have a family, and I'm also going to continue to be as good or not, if not better than I was before, children, and I'm still gonna be a good parent too." So it's not like you're just like having babies and dropping them off somewhere. Like it's good, and I appreciate it because I was raised by a single mother, so I know exactly what mothers are capable of doing. So hats off to you for sure. And yeah, yeah, go mom. And so also, I mean, because you didn't just stop there. It's like, wife, mom, professional athlete, um, and then you're a businesswoman as well. Like, so can you talk about the businesses that you own or co-own, and how that's played a role into like who we know of you to be today, and how that fits into like your brand?
Yeah, I don't know, I just like to like someone put like hustle, and hustle means like I
Mm,
like the pursuit of things, right? I don't necessarily care about the outcome, but I just love to see like what is possible.
mhm,
And being a woman and being able to like co-own or run my own business is like really empowering and
mhm,
hopefully showing other women like, hey, you can do this too. So I started Picky Bars over a decade ago alongside Lauren Fleshman and Jesse Thomas, and
mhm,
that's an energy bar company. And then, kind of dream come true, Laird Superfood acquired us last year, so we merged with them. So that's been really cool, and you can find all the info on that at pickybars.com or lairdsuperfood.com. And then I started a coaching business with my husband Ben. We started that, gosh, about 2014 at this
mhm.
point,
Yeah.
so 8 years ago.
Mhm,
And then we host adult running camps every summer in Flagstaff, Arizona. And that's basically where people come to Flagstaff and we say train and eat and recover and sleep like a pro, but at your own pace. Which is kind of like our motto. And then a few years ago, I started a women's only retreats called Grit and Growth, and I started
mm,
that alongside my one of my best friends from college, Sarah Tanza, who's a pelvic floor specialist and
mhm,
mom, and then Olympic gold medalist, author, and new mom, Tiana Bartoletta.
mhm.
Uh, we co-founded that, and then our two other leaders are another Olympic gold medalist, if you can believe,
You guys you're name dropping over here.
or Don Harper Nelson, and then my good friend Courtney Barnes. Yeah, so we started that, and that's been going
Yeah.
for gosh 3 years now. And we have our big retreat coming up next week in Scottsdale, Arizona, and then I have my own apparel line called Grit, and that's sold on my website stephbruce.com.
That's awesome. And the camp sounds. I mean, you said like to what train, eat, and recover like a pro.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds a lot like run, eat, sleep to me too. So just yeah, the parallel is definitely there because that's one of the things that I talk about is the run smart, eat. Run smart, eat healthy, sleep and recover like a pro, and do it with consistency. The repeat part,
Yeah, love it.
and your PRs and your chip times will come flying down.
It's cool.
But so I yeah, so like so there we are. So we've got almost everything that you do. Because it's so much. I mean, there's a lot if you think about it. You do a lot of stuff. And I don't even know how with all that you've managed to still get faster and like have time to focus on this other stuff that we talk about, like the running part. But let's like fast forward to last week. Well, actually, stop there. Hold on. So Grit. Sorry. So you have the clothing line Grit, and then that's also you didn't even really mention the YouTube presence because you definitely have a big YouTube presence.
Mhm.
If you don't follow Steph on YouTube, go to it because it's good stuff. But so you've had the Grit series going, and so this year is the Grit finale. So, I'm sure you've probably talked about 100 times or more. Can you talk to me about why this year is the Grit finale and why you're deciding to step away from professional running?
Yes. So last year, I lost my mom last June. She had breast cancer and ended up moving into her liver, and kind of the rest metastasized to the rest of her body. So we lost her in June. And the next couple months, I just was sort of having, I don't know, a myriad of symptoms that I didn't know if they were grief related. I didn't
Mhm,
know if it was training related. So I saw my doctor here in Flagstaff, and she did a lot of tests, and she's like, everything looks great. Like your blood work is
mhm,
beautiful. I don't see any problems, but I always like recommend doing an EKG. And I said,
mhm,
that's fine. So she does an EKG, and she's like, I feel like I see something, but I'm not exactly sure. So just to like cover her bases, she said, I'm going to order an echocardiogram, and that's
mhm.
essentially like an ultrasound of your heart.
Yeah.
I said, that's fine. I've never had that done. No problem. So they schedule that for me in Flagstaff. I go to the hospital here, and the tech asked me, does my dad get echoes? And of course I said, well, my dad, passed away when I was 18. So I'm not really sure how to answer that. And of course now I'm like, why did he ask that question? So they finished the echo, and then they send me the next day
Mm,
to a cardiologist here. And the cardiologist says, uh, we're diagnosing you with a congenital heart condition.
Mm,
Congenital meaning I was born with it, but we
mm,
never knew. And it's called bicuspid aortic valve disease.
mhm.
Essentially, what that means is everyone that is born has three cusps in their heart, three
Yep,
flaps, open and close. And 1 to 2% of people are born with two.
yep,
And it's because one of the three fuse together. So it sort of looks like this.
yep,
But the complications that come with that is instead of closing properly, every time the two now close, there's a little bit of gap, and blood does something where it flows back into the chamber instead of staying out. And that's
mm,
called regurgitation. And based on my echo, it said that there's mild, moderate, and severe. I have moderate regurgitation,
mhm.
and they don't know, has it been moderate my whole life? Has it just gotten moderate lately? And essentially, when it gets too severe, I will have to have heart surgery to repair the aortic valve. And that just sort of was this big like bomb drop on me,
Mhm.
because here I was coming out of this. I'm
Right,
38 years old. I just find out for the first time I have this condition I was born with, but I don't have any parents to call or ask or cry to or talk to. So it was a very grown up
right,
moment for me. I had to kind of absorb all the information I was getting, and then decide, what does this mean for like
right.
my life?
Yeah,
And yeah, after talking with Coach Ben, my husband Ben, we were like, we want to have more kids, but pregnancy can get complicated with this condition because of the
mhm.
stress on the heart. And since we don't necessarily know like the timeline of when I would have to have this surgery,
Right,
and we don't know if running is not supposed to make it any worse. Like
right,
the sports cardiologist from MedStar, Ankit Shah, that's the team I work with. He gave me a green light. He said, everything looks great. I have no concern or worry about you right now. Keep running at the highest level that you want, based on all my tests. But it still kind of made me just second guess my, I don't know, life path.
right.
And I love running so much, but I do want to try to have more kids. And there's just a lot of like uncertainty, I guess, with this condition. So it made me decide, hey, why don't I make 2022 my last year and kind of go out with a bang on my own terms and plan it out, make it fun, bring the fans along like I've always been doing, and kind of script how I want to end my professional running career. And so that's the grit finale.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it's and I do like though that, and I've heard you say somewhere else that you wanted to sculpt, that this experience for you, and you kind of hope that other people maybe approach the ends of, their careers like that as well, instead of kind of having, maybe whether it's age or whatever, kind of push them out the wrong way, and so you're kind of taking it into your control and enjoying the process along the way, and starting off this grit year very well. And if we could talk a little bit about last week, that you finished Boston's second American woman to finish and 12th overall. And would love to kind of hear about that experience for you. With it being, I heard you say somewhere that like every race is the last of that race for you now. So how does that feel walking away from Boston with that experience?
I mean, I miss it already. I didn't know like how I was going to feel, but I mean, part of that is because it went well and I
Yeah,
felt like the true version of myself, and I felt really strong coming home. I don't know. I just like being out there, it was just like a great reminder of like, this is like what I'm supposed to be doing in life.
yeah,
And I feel so privileged to still be healthy, still be able to like get on the line, and just like showing up to the marathon, as we talked about, is 90% of the battle, and being healthy. And I felt really prepared. We had a really hard training cycle, and Coach Ben, put me through the grinder, but
mhm.
it showed that we were really ready for the conditions and the course. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. It was really painful. Um,
Yeah.
I got close to like the big goals I wanted. You know, I was a
Yeah.
little off. I definitely wanted top 10, and I was hoping on a great day maybe I could be top 8. But the women were so strong. Nell Rojas had an incredible race.
Mhm.
You know, the top women from Kenya and Ethiopia just smashed. They did incredible. Perez, who's been on a tear, who won New York, who won
Mhm.
Tokyo, and then kind of a newer friend of mine, Mary, who got third, Edna Kiplagat, who is
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like they, you know, those women were going to be pretty hard, impossible to beat on the day. So all in all, it was a really great experience, and you know, probably second or maybe best marathon kind of my career to date.
Well, I mean, that was, such an amazing way to end it out, there, for at least for in Boston, and it looks like it's shaping to be, a really great year for you. And if we know anything about you, you're gonna step up to every finish line with like this, or this, start line with every ounce of grit that you have. And it sounds like, I mean, it sounds like you always did, but it's like now you kind of have like this thing like where this is everything counts, and you're gonna give it 110% every time you step to the line. And I can't wait to continue to watch what you're doing. What's the next race for you this year then?
Yes, so I'm running the US Championships for the 10,000 meter, and
Mhm.
that'll be at the Prefontaine Classic
Okay,
on
yeah.
May 27th in Eugene, Oregon.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, look forward to seeing you there as well. But so I had a couple. I don't think I have any questions for you, but I reached out to a couple people, and just wanted to read two notes that I got for you. Sarah Hall says, "We love you, Steph. So glad you're healthy to enjoy this year of all the races. Looking forward to more miles together in years to come."
Oh, that's really nice.
And then also we have Kira D'Amato. She said she's not really all that close to you, but she said, "Thank you, Steph, for being such an amazing example for women runners. When I was coming back into the running space, it was strong women like you that helped me see I could train my butt off and incorporate family. I've always loved seeing your boys at races, so proud that you are their mom. Also, tell Ben, also tell Ben my husband would like to challenge him again in something. Not sure what yet, but he's been talking about what challenge is next for them."
That's awesome. Well,
But I
thank you. I
just
appreciate that.
Oh, no, no problem. I just feel like it's yeah, every time I've seen you like on, camera or something, it seems like you're always around people, and they're always, reaching to you for the hug and everything like that. So I know that this professional career has probably provided so many friends and people like family to you. So I just wanted to reach out to as many people that I could that would maybe even answer, just to see if they could send a note to you, because you mean a lot to them, but then also to us as people watching your journey. So with that, if anybody has questions that's on the live, we maybe have like 1 or 2 minutes to answer a question. So if you have any questions, let us know quickly. But if not, then thanks so much, Steph. It means a lot to have you on the show. Thank you so much, Josh, for kind of putting this together for us really quick here. Congrats on Boston, because I know you probably wasn't exactly what you wanted to have happen, but it just seems like it was just such a great way to kind of walk away from that race in particular, because so many people, like, everybody goes to Boston and wants to do what they, but doesn't seem like a lot of people get there and do like exactly what they wanted to do. So that course is meant to make people suffer.
Right, it is.
Um, but before I close out, because I'd love to see, is there anything that you'd like to leave like my audience and your fans with? Um, just anything you'd like us to leave us with on the end of this episode here?
Oh man, I feel like this last like week, I'm like, I'm all out of motivation, guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I know.
I feel bad. I mean, yeah, I think like just I don't know, as we were talking about earlier, like just be bold enough to keep chasing your crazy goals and dreams, and it doesn't really matter what other people think. And I say this all the time, like no one cares about your own running as much as you do. And so
Yeah.
when you remember that, that helps on two fronts. That helps when you don't have a good day to not feel embarrassed, to not feel like an
Mm,
imposter, because it's really only you and your own running. Nobody loves you any less. Nobody respect you any less because you didn't hit a goal
Yep.
or didn't run a certain time or place.
Yep.
And then I think that helps you bounce back and make another goal, after your last one was either met or not met. So, yeah, I would just say stay true to your path. Don't feel like you need to be pulled off it because of someone else, and just try to show up authentically you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, that's good. I think you did good, even though you've probably been doing all type of, not speeches or interviews and things, and having to drop motivational quotes every time. But thank you so much. I mean, your presence is a motivation for so many. So I can't wait to see what's next for you. And I'm assuming that those businesses will be kind of. I think you said Ben is going to be happy because you'll be able to kind of focus on some of the business stuff. So
That's right.
looking forward to seeing what's next for you and your family. Thank you so much for your time and all that you do for the sport. And whoever's watching this, please make sure you remember to run, eat, sleep, and repeat. Thank
Thanks.
you.